صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, brothers and sisters, we'll have, as we've gathered here and started this beautiful gathering, while we are commemorating the Shahada of the 9th Imam, the 11th Ma'soom, Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad al-A'imma Taqi alayhi afdal salatu was salam. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So inshallah, we've started this beautiful gathering with a beautiful recitation of Surah Yasin by Brother Haydar Sayyid and a beautiful recitation of Dua al-Kumail by Dr. Muhammad. Moving on, just a few reminders. Tomorrow, Salatul Jummah will take place over here at the IHS led by Sheikh Shafiq Hudda at 1:30 p.m. The other announcement is that we've moved from one Shahr al-Haram to another Shahr al-Haram. The month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the month of Hajj, where Allah calls upon to the lovers, to the believers to come to His house. Just to update the community, as the email was sent out regarding the moon sighting as well, that inshallah some notable events among the shahadat would be the shahadat of the shahadat of the 5th Imam on the 7th of Dhul Hijj, would correspond to the 29th of August. Shahadat of Hazrat Musa bin Aqil, which is also the day of Arafah, will be corresponding to the 9th, which will be the next Thursday, and Eid will be on September 1st, Friday, according to the moon sighting. Allahu salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Next Thursday, since it's the day of Arafah, and among the many traditions present in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, one tradition that comes upon is the tradition of the 4th Imam, Imam Ali ibn Hussein Zain al-Abdin alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala. That he heard someone ask, a beggar asking people on the day of Arafah. And what the Imam says to that person is that, woe is unto you that on such a day do you beg other than Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That on this day, even the fetuses in the wombs are expected to be included in the grant or the vast mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, in the coming Thursday, which is corresponding to the day of Arafah, over here, we'll start our majlis or the amal of Yawm al-Arafah, starting at 6:45 p.m. and inshallah concluding it till with Salat al-Maghribain, inshallah. So the coming Thursday will be the day of Arafah, where we'll have the amal over here, inshallah, with brothers and sisters, and we'll try to make most of that day. And an email will also be sent out as a reminder to the community. Allahu salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And with the permission of Sheikh, the other thing is that a brother had requested that a friend of his was sick and is needed for our prayers. Likewise, a sister is sick and she's requesting for our prayers. And all people over here, anywhere around the world, have some desires, hajat al-sharia. May Allah fulfill these desires, for the fulfilling of their desires, for the complete and speedy recovery of the fellow believers who are sick, for the people who are away from home, for their safe return back to their homes, and inshallah for the ta'ajil of the Maulana, Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And count making us amongst His lovers, His followers, Ashab, Ansar, Awan. Let us recite the Ayah Karima 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul muttarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul muttarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. ما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء Allahumma salli ala. And in salam, as this is commemorating the shahada of this 9th Imam, I'd like to offer our condolences to the Imam of our time and extending these condolences to all fellow brothers. I'd like to recite some words of poetry in the honor of Sayyid al-Shuhada, the grandfather of Imam. Allah salawat Muhammad wa جو بھی مصروف سلام شہدا رہتا ہے، جو بھی مصروف سلام شہدا رہتا ہے، وہ تو رہتا نہیں پر نام صدا رہتا ہے، جو بھی مصروف سلام شہدا رہتا ہے۔ شمر کہتا تھا یہی ماں ہے علی اکبر کی، شمر کہتا تھا یہی ماں ہے علی اکبر کی، جس کا ایک ہاتھ کلیجے پہ دھرا رہتا ہے، جس کا ایک ہاتھ کلیجے پہ دھرا رہتا ہے۔ شام ہوتی تو اونٹوں سے اترتے ہیں حرام، شام ہوتی ہے تو اونٹوں سے اترتے ہیں حرام، پر سر شاہ تو نیزے پہ چڑھا رہتا ہے، پر سر شاہ تو نیزے پہ چڑھا رہتا ہے۔ وہ لگی کہنے یتیموں کی نشانی ہے یہی، وہ لگی کہنے یتیموں کی نشانی ہے یہی، کرتا بیوار سی بچوں کا پھٹا رہتا ہے، کرتا بیوار سی بچوں کا پھٹا رہتا ہے۔ رو کے یہ ہند کی بیٹی نے سکینہ سے کہا، رو کے یہ ہند کی بیٹی نے سکینہ سے کہا، سر تیرا کس لیے ہر وقت کھلا رہتا ہے، سر تیرا کس لیے ہر وقت کھلا رہتا ہے، جو بھی مصروف سلام شہدا رہتا ہے، وہ تو رہتا نہیں پر نام صدا رہتا ہے۔ اعظم اللہ اجورکم، اللہ صلوات محمد و آل محمد۔ And without any further delay, I'd like to request Honorable, Respectable, Muhtaram Maulana Sheikh Shafiq Hudda to address this Majlis of Shahada. Allah salawat Muhammad wa al Muhammad.
الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم وفرقانه المجيد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. صلوات على محمد وعلى Respected sisters and brothers, my youngsters, my elders, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. Over the last 2 Thursdays, today being the third one, we have been talking about the whole system, what we call nizam, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe and set a pattern, a pathway in place. This nizam or this system has been basically guiding the whole course of the universe. A lot of times we give examples to explain a certain philosophy or a point. And the example may not be 100% relevant, it may not be 100% true, but it gives us an example of understanding the point that we want to try and comprehend. And the Quran Majid often gives amthal, examples, mithal. And so, for example, if you look at how an automobile, the creator or the manufacturer of the automobile, whether you credit that to Henry Ford or somebody else, you see that the car has been created, it has been made, it has been manufactured, because they don't talk about creation of cars, they talk about the manufacture of cars. But for our purposes, it will be sufficient to understand that when you go into the car and you start the car, nowadays you don't need a key to start cars. Some cars, you have a button that you have to press. MashaAllah, you press the button and the car, MashaAllah, magically, I should say magically, but automatically starts. And so what ends up happening is that the driver has been trained, the potential driver, the person who purchases the car, has been trained that if you press this button, it will accelerate. If you press this button, it will slow down. If you put the gear down into D, they call this the prindle, right? It's a long joke, but they say the prindle, and this doesn't stand for, daytime, nighttime. It's talking about neutral drive and all that. And so you put the car in D, then it'll move forward. You put the car in R, it'll go reverse. Now, if you think for a moment, the person who manufactured that car, the creator, the inventor of the automobile, is he involved in your car running today or wherever you are? Does Mr. Toyota know what is happening with your little Yaris or your Echo? You'll say, of course not. Because they made this machine to run its own course. And so when the little notch goes down to E from F, that means your tank is getting empty. So you have to know all these things. You are now running the situation. So there's a certain system that has been put into place by the automobile. So in the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a nizam in the universe. Now if you just take a look at Earth, people often ask, well, why are there earthquakes? Why are there tsunamis? Why are there storms? Why are there tornadoes? Why are there hurricanes? People are dying, this happens, that happens. And people who are geologists and those who study seismology will tell you that earthquakes are actually needed. Earthquakes are needed in order to keep a balance on Mother Earth. The hurricanes, tornadoes, or storms or tsunamis that happen, sometimes they have relation to the moon and the gravitational pull, which is an integral part of keeping the moon where it is and the earth where it is. If it wasn't for gravity, the moon would wander away in God knows where. The earth would be floating away somewhere else. So everything and anything has a purpose. And the foundations or the purpose was established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now for us to blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is illogical and inconclusive. It is wrong basically. It would be an illiterate statement for us to say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused this much death. Na'udhu billah. Allah ta'ala causes hurricane, which ultimately everything returns back to the Almighty, ultimately. Okay, wa inna ilayhi rajiun. But if today I have an accident, I will not blame the CEO of Hyundai for my accident that happened. because I was speeding or because the other person cut me off or what happened, I cannot blame. It would be, if I was to tell anybody that, yeah, I'm planning on launching a lawsuit against the CEO of this company or that car manufacturer. You will sit down with me and say, Brother Shafiq, you okay? Are you right? What will it go? Well, I got in an accident. I was on Highway 85 South and I got into an accident. You say, Baba, this is maybe your foolishness, or the other person who cut you off, his foolishness, or that lady who, did this, maybe her no, you cannot blame the guy who created it. But you see how easy it is for us to blame Allah for everything. Allah Ta'ala was responsible. And we sometimes hear this even from mu'mineen, from believers, from Muslims. They say, oh, Allah, na'udhu billah. And so we basically make Allah Ta'ala the scapegoat for a lot of our issues. In a discussion on the adalat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a very beautiful discussion he had, Marhum Mullah Asghar was talking about how this system, this nizam, has played its own role out. And so even anything and everything that is around us, negative and positive, have what is known as cause and effect. They may be the effect of some cause that has happened. Illnesses, cancers, HIV or AIDS, whatever. You look at the history, you look at what has happened, look at how it has been formed, how it has been spread, and what has transpired in this whole scenario. You see, to look at one thing out of context would defeat the purpose of trying to understand the creation itself. If you take one part out of context and say, well, look, this is happening. There was a tornado here in Kitchener, for example, and so many people got injured, so many people got homeless, for example. I'm just giving an example. Now we like to blame Allah. Well, why did, ultimately Allah created the wind, Allah created the storm, Allah created the clouds, these clouds started turning, and But when you see it from a scientific point of view, you see that this is a result of certain things that happen. Illnesses, of course, we, mashallah, Sayyid, make sure we do Amma Yujibu for those who are ill. We pray for them, we pray for their shifa, our du'as, our hajats, our, especially after the Dhuhr dua, we pray. That is a separate issue altogether. But when you look at the illness itself, if I get cancer, I get a heart attack, I get an illness, let's take a moment to study why this happened. Why did I get a heart attack? Well, I was a chain smoker. Now I'm still going to blame Allah. I had an unhealthy lifestyle. I was eating, samosa and French fries every day of my life. One health expert, a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Mohsin, once said, he says, America's two favorite vegetables, French fries and ketchup. That's America's two favorite vegetables. They say, yeah, we eat vegetables, but this is what we eat. And then we wonder why we get sick. We wonder why we have obesity. We wonder why. And so if I have an unhealthy lifestyle, I get a heart attack, what do? I blame Allah. I am a chain smoker. I'm lighting one cigarette with the second cigarette, and then I have a heart attack. I blame Allah. Doctors and heart cardiologists, they are present. You can ask them. Don't take my word for it. I'm not pretending to be a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I have no intention of ever wanting to be. This is a field that I don't think I put my feet in. But they will tell you that smoking is, they ask you these questions. They have a questionnaire, don't they? They say, okay, who is prone? Who is high risk? Who is, a walking, ticking time bomb? I remember a friend of mine saying that, because it has nothing to do with weight, cholesterol and diabetes and those. It's based on your lifestyle, a lot of it, not all the be all and end all. This is not the only one, but I'm saying one of the factors. So if I was doing this, this and this, and then I get that illness, well, don't blame Allah. Let's see what we did. Let's see what was happening. We're getting cancer that is becoming like a second terminology for us. I remember when I was growing up, cancer, you would hear about once in maybe 1,000 Muslims, one person might have cancer. Today, every third, fourth, fifth person, he's got this one, he's got that cancer, she's got this cancer, she's got that cancer. What happened? Now, let's look at these last 25 or 40 years of our lifestyle. What has been happening? I challenge the mu'mineen. Every Shabbat Jummah, I come here in front of you. I give you homework, don't I? Some of you do it, some of you don't. I told you to look into the Grand Canyon. I told you to look into the Colorado River. I told you to look into all these things. I'll continue this. As long as you keep inviting me now, I've already been told next Thursday, alhamdulillah, you don't have to hear from me. But the homework that I suggest, go on in any product that you're eating or drinking. Read the ingredients. The cereals that you have. The tin milk that you're drinking or putting in your tea. Any of the cakes that you're having. The bread that you're eating. Just take a look at the ingredients. I'm not going to tell you anything. There are certain words I cannot even pronounce. And there's preservatives, and there are additives, and there are all kinds of things, and to make things colorful, and to make things this, and to make things better tasting, and to make, fruit sweeter. There's chemicals, there's all kinds of things, and additives, and what have you. And all of those are going where? Where are they going? I'm eating that fruit, I'm eating that cake, I'm eating that bread, I'm drinking that pop. Where is it going? Somebody says, well, alhamdulillah, Allah has created a system. It goes in from one side, it comes out the other. No, it's not that easy. Believe me. So those things will stay. Now, if the body now is responding by having certain dysfunctions, illnesses, and what have you, if the body, which is one speck in the universe, is going through such difficulties and challenges, apply that or multiply that to the world. And then apply that or multiply that to the solar system. And then to the galaxy, and then to the whole universe afterward. You start from here. Now, alhamdulillah, because the other planets, we don't know of any life on them. I'm not saying there isn't, because Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq was asked. Mawla was asked, Mawla, Yabna Rasulullah, is there life on other planets? What people are discussing now? Mawla was already asked 1300 years ago. Imam says, yes, there is life on other planets. And that life on other planets is more intelligent than your life. They are more intelligent than earthlings. We think we are super smart, don't we? We like to think that. Those people are smarter, and those people who are smarter, they are all muhibb of Ali Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. If you want the reference, because I try not to say anything without a reference, if you want to see the reference, you can even go on the internet. There is a book written by Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq that has been attributed to written about Imam Sadiq, called The Great Philosopher and Scientist, Ja'far ibn Muhammad. He mentions it in there. It was written by a group of European doctors and astronomers, scientists, and philosophers. And when we look at the philosophy, so basically everything has a reason, a purpose, a cause and effect. And this cause and effect is what is sustaining the universe, but it's also creating the negativity that is around in the universe. The positive also happens, because despite all that, people often claim, well, people are getting sick, people are dying. Well, now, let's look at the overall picture, not just one part. People say that, oh, so many illnesses, so many cancers, so many diseases, so many deaths are happening. Car accidents, this, that, tsunami comes and kills 1,000 people. This storm comes and kills 10,000 people. Then my counter question is, then that means those people who are complaining, if I'm the complainer, then I should look at the figures, and when there was maybe 4 billion people in the world 20 years ago, today there should be 3 billion people. 20 years from now, there should be 2 billion people. Another 20 years, you'll tell me, no, brother Shafiq, you're going in the wrong way. Kya hua? Mahada? Chika. They'll say, no, Masha, we are now 7.2 billion people in the world. So I said, okay, you're complaining that people are dying, there's storms, there are illnesses, there are cancers, and now you're telling me on the other side the population is still growing. So something right is happening. Something positive is happening. So we have to look at the context, the perspective of, and the complete creation. You can't look at that. One of the things that Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib ﷺ told Kumail. Kumail had narrated a dream to him, to Mawla. And the Imam interpreted the dream. That would have been a lengthy, mashallah, interpretation. It would take a long time for us to go through that. I'll just take one part of the dream that Kumail had narrated and the Imam's response. Kumail narrates that there was a beautiful white cloth coming from the heavens. A beautiful cloth, so perfect in every way. And what happened was people all around started tearing that cloth. Taking scissors, and somebody would take this part, somebody would take that part, somebody would take... Afterwards, this beautiful cloth was tattered. It's all tattered, little pieces here and there, completely desecrated. Imam, now remember, this is only one part of the dream. The dream has actually 7 parts to it. I'm only going to tell you one part today. Imam says, Kumail, you have seen Akhiruz Zaman. Kumail, you have seen Akhiruz Zaman. Mawla, what do you mean? He says that what will happen is Islam was this noble, sublime, beautiful revelation that came from the heavens. And what ends up happening is people will take one part from here, they like this about Islam. The poor people will like the zakat and the sadaqah. The rich people will like, going for hajj and going for tours here. And the poor will enjoy this, and the social elite will like this, and the poor, the lower elite will like this. Everyone will take only what they like from Islam, leaving Islam in tatters. Leaving it torn. Leaving it unpleasant looking. And look at around us today. You talk to somebody about Islam, yes, alhamdulillah, you will tell me that yes, Islam is the fastest growing religion. Yes, Muslims are, mashallah, increasing in number. But if you go to an average American, Canadian, an average European, and you tell them you're a Muslim, what will they see you as? What image have Muslims made of Islam? If you remember our discussion a couple of weeks ago, I talked about Islam and Muslims. There's sometimes George Bernard Shaw has been quoted as saying, Islam is the best religion, Muslims are the worst followers. A non-Muslim is saying this. The same man, George Bernard Shaw, the same man who said in the late 1800s, he said, if any religion has the ability to rule over, Europe. This is George, he's saying it. If any religion has a possibility of ruling over England, no, Europe, it is the religion of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But right now we're having trouble ruling over ourselves, let alone Europe or England. We're having trouble with ourselves, let alone Europe or England. So basically what has happened is the philosophy, the foundations that we've been talking about over these 3 weeks now, is something that needs to be reflected and pondered over. When you mention the word philosophy, there is a negative connotation. And the reason why this negative connotation is there, and the history of this negativity, especially amongst Shias, was for a very important reason. I'm going to just talk about that reason in the few minutes that I will, inshallah, take of yours, inshallah. I will try not to take any more time, and we want to at least take something with us when we go. Philosophy was so negatively seen that when Imam Khomeini had begun in his early, when I say early, I'm talking about 30, 40, 50 years of age. That's early for the ulama, the mujtahideen. When he began to teach philosophy, there was so much opposition to him. We're talking about a man who was a mujtahid. When he began to teach philosophy, there was so much opposition that when he went to drink water from a fountain, other ulama declared that fountain najis. They declared that fountain najis, that Ruhullah has touched that fountain. He drank from it, do not touch it. They had to do taharat on that fountain before anybody would touch it even. Why? Allama Ayatullah Hubuddin Shahrastani in his writings mentions one of the reasons. Philosophy was a taboo subject for Shias up until just a generation ago. In fact, it was brave ulama like Ayatollah Bahishti, Ayatollah Buhanar, and Shahid Bakr al-Sadr that actually brought philosophy back, and Imam Khomeini, of course, that brought philosophy back. Up until that time, just until recently, 1 generation, 2 generations ago, it was mamnu, it was a taboo subject. The reason was, and Allama Shahrastani mentions, I said the reason was, over the years, philosophy became ingrained with Greek and other mythologies. It became so intertwined that some scholars would actually interpret ayat of the Quran Majid to make sure that they concur with Greek philosophy and Greek mythology, and especially philosophy. You understand what I mean? They would actually take Islamic ayat of the Quran, a hadith of the Prophet, and make it compatible with Greek philosophers. And there is a quotation, I didn't want to make an error, so I actually brought the quotation with me. In the book Islam and Astrology, Mullah Sadr is quoted as saying, firstly, God created active intellects and exalted forms. Then he created other creatures, to the lowest ones as specified deities and archetypes of all species, that were proved by Plato and Platonic philosophers. In this statement, we have revived what our old teachers say, that we try to conform with them, what they said, and defend their ideas against any doubt about them. As I said, this was a verbatim. And so, people like Mullah Sadr basically said that the first thing Allah created were these philosophers. Now you can see the absurdity of that. So obviously, when the subject that is being compared and talked about will become a hated subject amongst the scholars who realize that a philosopher or a thinker or a mystic or a sociologist at that level cannot be equated to a deity, to a god. Because Greek mythology was based, philosophy was based on the mythology that the gods were running each different division and part, and everything circled around that and their ideologies. So Islamic scholars refuted the whole subject of philosophy. And it was not until a later era, that, as I said, just 2 generations ago, that it at least started coming back out and saying, no, there are elements, there are levels and degrees of philosophy. Till today, you hear jokes when somebody's a doctor of philosophy, a PhD. In Urdu, they'll say, Phira hua dimag. Insane person, a mental person. And so why? Because philosophy was always seen as somebody who we cannot talk to, we cannot relate to, we cannot deal with. And so there was the fear and us versus them ideology. And this was perpetrated by those who were philosophers. They actually liked this because it gave them that superiority feeling. And so a philosopher would always speak at a level that nobody would be able to understand, comprehend, or grasp. And so this is where that unfolding came about. As the Imam had said today, we're also marking the Shahadat of the Imam, so I will abruptly end this discussion here. And one of the challenges, of course, whoever is on the mimbar faces, especially when we put everything on Thursday night, is the Shahadat being 3 days ago, and then beginning of Zilhajj is the wedding anniversary of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, and Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. I was confused whether I should wear black or colored, and so I decided blue would be the only in-between color to sort of fit both occasions, inshallah. Imam Jawad, as many of you may have read or have seen in history, was the youngest Imam to be martyred. He was 25 years of age, and whenever Imam Rada, because one of the things that history was clear on, was that Imam Rada alayhi salam did not have any other children. In fact, I just verified this with Sheikh Mufid's writings this afternoon. Neither any daughter nor any son was there except Imam al-Jawad. So Imam Rada did not have any other successor except Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Taqi. And whenever people would ask him, because again, after a long time Imam Rada had Imam Jawad. And when people would ask him, the Imam would say, no, Allah will give me a son. Allah will give me a warith. And they would actually say to him that at this age, things have progressed now, when is this happening? And so finally, when he was summoned to Khurasan, the Imam says, this is my son, this is my wasi, this is my wali, and and the entire nas or the nasiha that the Imam had done is narrated by Sheikh Mufid in his Al-Irshad and by other ulama as well. If you look at Allama Majlisi's Hayatul Qulub, he also narrates in a certain way the succession after Imam Rada. So it was a very challenging time, but in one way it was actually good because the people then had to refer to Imam Jawad. And so as he grew, as he showed his valor, his courage, and his generosity. Jawad means one who is very generous, one who is very giving, one who opens the doors. And I had mentioned the other night in my lecture as well, one of the things that, in fact, afterwards I had a lot of people asking me questions on this. Imam Rada, all of the Sayyids were known as, or even today who are known as Radawi or Rizvi Sayyids. In actuality, they are Taqawi Sayyids, because Imam had only one child, as I just emphasized here. Imam Muhammad Taqi actually had 4 children. He had, of course, Imam Ali al-Naqi, Hazrat Musa ibn Muhammad Taqi. He had Fatima, and he had Imama. So 2 daughters and 2 sons. So because Imam Rada did not have any other children, the Radawi Sayyids are actually Taqawi Sayyids. There's no such thing, but now I know those who are Radawi Sayyids will pretty want to attack me. But Radawi Sayyids, because of the prominence of the Imam, the status of the Imam, the position that the Imam had in the both political arena, religious arena, and the spiritual arena, everybody was known as Yabn al-Rada, Yabn al-Rada, Yabn al-Rada, the son of Rada, son of Rada. So even Imam Hasan al-Askari, in some of the writings that you find, he was also referred to as Yabn al-Rada, the third, Thalatha Yabn al-Rada. So they actually went in that terminology as in reference. So the Imam's Shahadat was a very critical, at a critical time, at a very young age. And when Imam Ali al-Naqi had to lead the Salat, you can only imagine for a moment how difficult that Salatul Janazah must have been for Imam Ali ibn Muhammad al-Naqi to lead the Salat of his 25-year-old father. 25 is an age when you yourself would have difficulty parting with a parent. A parent parting with a child is difficult enough. A child having to part with a parent is that much more difficult. But all of the valor, the chivalry, The whole patience and sabr of imamat was demonstrated by Ali ibn Muhammad al-Naqi when he was doing the Salatul Janazah of his father. And when he was leading the Salat, I can only help but to think that how difficult he must have been. It must have been for Mawla Ali ibn Muhammad al-Naqi. But at the same time, the consolation to the Imam was that when he laid his father to be buried beside his grandfather, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, and both of them are referred to as Qadim. Both of them were known to suppress their anger. And that is why they're both buried in a place called Kadhimiya or Kadhimain, the two Qadims. How difficult it must have been, but yet he had the consolation to know that when he did Azadari for his father, Muhammad Taqi, nobody was there to beat them, nobody was there to harm them, nobody was there to... Even Ma'mun alayhi lan showed a serious degree of grief and remorse. He showed, even though it was overt, he showed that he was upset and crying. Nobody was there to beat my Mawla Ali al-Naqi. Mawla, imagine in Karbala, when Sakina was crying for her father Hussein, Shimr Maloon would come and beat her and give her punishment. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Once again, I will request Mu'mineen to recite 5 times together. Amma yujibu, for those who are ill, for Allah Ta'ala to give them shifa, for our hajat to be accepted, for the hifazat of Imam Zamana, and for the safety and the security of those who are suffering in Pakistan, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Eastern Hijaz, especially in Awamiya and other places, in Nigeria, in Syria, in Yemen, in Bahrain, wherever there is suffering of any of the believers, wherever there is suffering of any human beings altogether. Bismillah. الرحيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 أما يجيب المضطر إذا ويكشف السوء. اللهم صل وسلم. الفاتحة للأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين نستعين نصرة ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. وان صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. صلوا على. Not to take much of your time, just an announcement that I wanted to make on behalf of the committee is that inshallah, as I mentioned, that for the Ashra Muharram, the first Ashra of Muharram, we will have over here reciting these majalis. For the first Ashra, Sheikh Muhammad Ali Ismail coming from UK. And I had mentioned the other day that this scholar had graduated from in the field of law, and then he's spent 10 years in Qum, in the Hudda. So inshallah he'll be reciting this Muharram in this majalis. Now the request from the committee was that if there are any volunteers from the brothers who would be willing to accommodate the Sheikh at his at their places, they can feel to connect with the committee and let them know in any way if they would like to help out, inshallah. And as you have witnessed in the past years, there are many opportunities for us as Hussainiyun to participate in these events and play our roles, and inshallah, and certainly as we are making this offering in the honor of in the presence of Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha. Allahu salawat Muhammad wa Muhammad. So inshallah, may Allah accept from us of all of our deeds. And there's an announcement that Martyrdom Maulana Shaykh Shafiq Hudda wanted to make. So inshallah, Allahu salawat Muhammad wa Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa
Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. Whenever a scholar comes to the mic and says, I won't take too much time, you know, half an hour will go, right? But this time I'm serious, I will not, inshallah, take too much time. It is not my habit, first of all, to make personal announcements from the mimbar and from the podium. It's not been my habit much of my life. Those of you who know me know that. But at the same time, there's a certain opportunity that arises that sometimes we may have to deal or act in ways that perhaps are important and are necessary. As